Wednesday, everyone. It is in November 3rd already. I was just talking to my guest today about how it is so hard to believe that we are going into the last 2 months of the year. 2021 has flown by. So I'm Julie Jones with the Adventures of Julie Jones. And of course, this is the Get Shit Done weekly interview series that I do of amazing, interesting people. And listen, you are going to love today's show because these two speak to my heart about living an inspired life. So Reed and Gracelyn from Fire Up Nation, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
We're excited to be here.
We are so psyched to be here, Julie. Thank you so much for having us.
You are so welcome. So I don't want to spend a lot of time about yammering about like me, and I just want to get right to it because I really want you to share your journey because it is so inspiring of like, and people probably don't even know, why I brought you on the show. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. You two fire away. Fire away. And let's talk about your journey of inspiration.
Sure. Well, ours kind of started, long ago, but also a couple years back. We were sitting in our jobs, each of us in corporate America, feeling like we could do more, but not really knowing what that was. We get really, busy, bogged down in the day to day. And we said, it'd be great if we could go travel, like just take some time to get reinvigorated. And we talked about it for a couple of years. And then we finally decided to, make that shift. Gave notice mid-February, and our last days were when basically the week that all the borders started closing, weren't going anywhere. So our dream, we were finally going to realize, felt like just a big, no from the world. But with that, we pivoted and we decided to go on a road trip and camp across the Western US, which we've never camped. But we said, we're going to just say yes to adventure. It's kind of what got us getting momentum in a good direction. And then we just, started saying yes to ourselves, exploring, getting that reinvigorated, and then say yes to abundance. Those are kind of the three things that got us going and set up like going in a positive direction. And then now with Fire Up Nation, we're wanting to bring that energy and that spirit that we found to the world. So
That's right. So Julie, we set out on this journey to travel the world, and what really happened was we found ourselves in the process, and we, got our own spirits ignited, and now we want to just, live from our hearts and share that with the world because we really think it's an inside job as far as, finding your passion and, shining your light. And then that can be, that can spread to other people. And that's what Fire Up Nation is doing. It's creating a movement of people who are living from the inside out. They're following their heart. They're taking massive action, which we know that you're all about. They're getting it done. And so we're learning and transforming as people. And then we want to share that along our journey and in hopes to empower others, because we believe that if we can do it, you can do it. And that's really our message. In the end of the day, it's to spread light and love in the world and to follow our hearts, and then to get out there and really keep trying and stay open. Like Gracelyn was saying, say yes. That's our yes philosophy.
Well, I love the yes philosophy because I'm a big yes philosophy. And if you see me turning my head during the show, it's because my noisy coworkers are in the office with me. And then like they like to bark at inappropriate times, but if I leave them outside the door, then they scratch and they cry and, everything.
We're just as excited,
I know they're excited. They hear your voices and they're just excited with what you are sharing. So yes, I am all about saying yes to life and yes to opportunity. And so let's just talk a little bit though about like what was the obstacle, I guess, or like what had stopped you for so long, and where did you make the shift to say, okay, enough is enough. This is what we're going to do.
I'll start because
probably similar experience.
Yeah, if I go way back in my life, I was in a bus wreck back in the 10th grade, and we were coming back from a basketball tournament, and my bus flipped off the highway. Coach passed out at the wheel, and I realized in that moment, life could just happen like that, right? Like that made me believe, okay, well, let me seize the day. Let me take full advantage because I'm not guaranteed, really anything. And it did it twofold, it kind of made me, gung ho for that period of time. And I was out there seizing it and, everything was possibility and everything was kind of abundance. But then I got through college and I think that, getting into the corporate world, and I was a consultant for 14 years. In about year, 4 of that, really a upward trajectory, a solid career, a great experience. But I said to myself, this isn't what I want to do with my life. And I'll be out of here in, a year or two and on to the next thing, something that I'm really passionate about. And I think what happened is instead of, taking action on that, which was really what was inside, my heart, I allowed things to continue and I started to justify it from an outside myself perspective, right? You're successful, you've got a great career, you're making lots of money, you're advancing, you have all this stuff and this great life. So from an outsider's perspective, I was successful, but I felt so diminished and it just chipped away at my soul over time. And I felt more and more inauthentic. I felt more and more, like everything else was, I was fine, but everything else was the problem. So I wasn't really taking responsibility for what was inside me and what I wanted to bring to the world. I would talk a lot about it, but there wasn't any action behind it. And so there was a span of several years there where Grayson and I were talking about traveling, and that was our dream, and that's what we were going to go do. And what the catalyst, I guess, for that is we just, for me, I pretty much just broke down. I mean, I had that, just it felt like the weight of the world, and then realization hit, and it was an inversion. Like, wait a second, I can do this. I have the resource. I've been working hard. Now we can.
When is now a good time?
When is now a good time? And we started to shift our perspective. I mean, of course, then the hurdles start showing up in your world to see if you're really convicted.
How committed are you?
Yeah, how committed are you? And we had quite a few of those. We can get into our last year and a half of travel, but before we set out on our road trip, Grayson got bit by a dog. We were going on like a Lake Powell, houseboat, and then my car 2 hours into leaving on the road trip, just the engine blew up. So there was
this is after the pandemic starts, so it was funny. But
so we just started to joke with each other, and I was like, Grayson, well, we're homeless, jobless, and down to one car, but we started to just love that and start to see everything as opportunity, and started to just really open up with that say yes to adventure. And this, when we started doing that, just the universe delivered. It started putting really cool things in our path.
Well, and you make such valid points right there, because I always believe that life happens for us, not to us.
mm-hmm.
And the universe really does want to know, like, how committed are you to this dream, to this goal, and that there's going to be a lot of obstacles that come in your way. But in some ways it's a blessing. Like, it's like, well, now I don't have to worry about 2 cars. Well, now I don't have to worry about this. It's like you can simplify and really live the life that you want, because you also mentioned about all the stuff. And like,
Yes.
I have just come to realize as I've gotten older, and even with, like children or like people that I know in my life, I'd rather have experiences with them than like be giving gifts or giving things. Everybody has enough stuff. It's like, but it's the memories and those experiences that will last with people for a lifetime. Nobody, is on their deathbed thinking of all the things that they accumulated, right? Because they know they're not taking it with them, but they're thinking about the experiences. And most people regret not having more of those experiences, as it's coming to the end. So with all the traveling that you've done, let's just share like some of the amazing places that you've been in the last year and a half, if you can remember them all. But like, let's, and maybe talk about what has been one of your favorite places.
Yeah, so we've actually ended up traveling kind of in 3-month segments is how it's shaken out. So we started on our road trip around the western part of the US. So from Texas, kind of went, up towards Montana. What do we do? Like Utah,
Wyoming, Montana.
Then over, we hit Oregon, Washington, didn't make it to California or New Mexico, really. But yeah, we camped around. We camped probably about a third of it. We stayed in some hotels too, but that was really just like getting out and adventuring. And I loved that lifestyle. You know, cooking your own food, doing a lot of hiking. So that's kind of what that trip was about. And then we went over to Europe. Croatia opened, and so we spent some time about a month in Croatia, 2 months in North Macedonia, 2 months in Montenegro, and about a month in Albania. And that was
Weeks.
Sorry, weeks. Excuse me. That was last.
We really love the Balkans.
Yeah, we love the Balkans. And then the earlier part of this year, we spent 3 months in Costa Rica, and we just got back from 3 months in Greece. So that's kind of where we've touched in the world. I think they've each had kind of their own amazing things. But for me, I love Costa Rica. You know, it feels like home. It has just this like, you know, it's so vibrant and it's full of life and beautiful trees and all these, you know, it's like you walked into paradise. So I think that just what the environment is there. And then for us, that's where we really started digging deep within ourselves and like, what do we want? You know, we had that point of been traveling about 6 months, and it's like, one, we like to travel. The flexibility it provided just us to explore the world and, you know, dig deep within ourselves. So I think Costa Rica is really where, you know, both the environment and just internally made a huge shift in just, you know, appreciating what is and what the possibilities were, you know, for us going forward. So.
Well, and you loved Costa Rica so much. I hear that you're going back. So
that's true. Can't get enough.
You heard right. Yeah. So
like if you look, and you know, I'm not a big future planner, but you know, like we all have goals, we all have dreams, you know, it's like living in the moment, which you are doing a lot of, because you just like day to day can be very unexpected because you don't know what, you know, what each day is going to bring. Like, how much longer do you think that you will continue to do the traveling? And is like a long-term goal that you would stay here in the States, or do you think that you will find a place that you would love to relocate to?
well,
So I was gonna say,
yeah, multi-part. So for as long as we'll keep traveling, we plan to keep traveling as long as, you know, one, we want to, because a lot of what we're doing is about living life on our own terms and really, you know, asking ourselves the questions: what do you want? You know, what are you passionate about? What's your vision? And then architecting our life around, you know, doing that. And so the travel is a big component because it really allows us to keep saying yes to adventure. It allows this openness. We meet all kinds of cool people like yourself, you know, along our journey. And so we want to keep doing that really as long as we can. I mean, there's certain impediments. The world is a lot more restricted now to us than it was, you know, previously, but that's all part of it. I mean, you just have to adapt and you have to see what you really can do. And as far as, you know, whether we'll be in the States or whether we'll be somewhere else, like we said, we really like Costa Rica, and we'll just see how it evolves. I mean, we're not, all of our stuff's in storage. We don't have any cars or really any attachments. I mean, of course, we have our family and friends who we love dearly, and we're out here to live our lives and see where it takes us. So there's really no plan other than to, you know, to keep following our heart, following our vision, and executing on that, and then just see where it takes us.
Yeah, and I would just add that, you know, before we put ourselves, we felt like in a box of like, oh, there's no options, there's no flexibility. So yes, we don't always need to be traveling in order to find that, but it's like, why not create a life around where we don't have to feel like we're stuck? You know, we can open the handle of the door to let ourselves out of this box that we're in. So it's like, why, you know, let's create and architect our life around that so that we can never have to feel the way that we fought so hard to get out of, you know? So that's where we're learning as we go and trying to make decisions based off that lifestyle that we want. So
I love it. You know, one of the courses that I teach is blow up the box. You know, it's not
nice.
even like,
blow it up. I love it.
Yeah, blow it up. Like stop, you know, like people say, think outside the box, get out of the box. It's like, just blow up the box. There is no box, right? I mean, it's only the box that we self-impose. And I love what you're saying, because it's such an inspiration to so many people. And I have a question along those lines, but what I'm just thinking about, even in my own life, is that I am the explorer, the adventurer, hence the adventures of Julie
Yes.
Jones, right? I mean, my family was so used to like just being in Wisconsin growing up. I mean, God bless my brother, but he doesn't even own a passport, and here I am, I've traveled the world. I've been blessed to go see some places. My husband and I own land in Belize. And at some point, we may or may not end up like, there for a while. And, I really took a huge chance of like moving from Wisconsin, from everything that I always knew, to moving out to Arizona. And now I love it. And it's like once you're willing to take that chance or that risk or however you look at it, it just opens up so many doors because you realize that then anything is possible. If you did it once, you can do it again. And that's what, you inspire people to do. So with the Fire Up Nation and with what everything that you're doing, what kind of like testimonials, or have you inspired other people to be like doing the same thing that you are? Do you have like a great story you'd like to share around that?
I mean, we are out here. Sometimes we don't even know who we're inspiring, but I mean, I'll just give a real easy example. There was a guy that I'd met, way back when, that I was like, I want to be friends with this guy. You know how you meet somebody and you click and it's kind of a in the moment type thing. You're like, but you rarely follow up. So I go, I finally was in Austin. He lives in Austin. I'm like, I'm going to make an effort to go meet this person that I didn't really know all that well, minus a couple of like 5-minute conversations that were really cool and deep and good connection. And I go meet him and he's like, man, I just got to tell you, I've seen every one of y'all's videos, all your content, and I love it. It's really, got me fired up and inspired. And, just hearing stuff like that, you don't even really know who's being impacted a lot of the time by, what we're putting out. And what we're standing for is just, living and sharing the experience. So we're not really, attached to who sees it or what, like how do they feel about it? Did we get so many clicks or whatever? In fact, we prefer to live it, and then, however we can share that and really get our message across is what we're passionate about doing. So, and we're still getting ramped up to be able to share with a wider audience. So we don't have a ton of testimonials that you can go watch yet, but we expect people will hear our message, and we really want people to participate, to feel empowered and to start, living from their hearts, because that was what was so powerful for us. So our kind of 3-part mantra in Fire Up Nation is liberate, invigorate, and elevate. And that's liberating from, the programming and conditioning that just inundates us all, and, kind of freeing yourself so that you can be open to new things, and then invigorating your spirit, firing yourself up from the inside out, following your heart and taking action on that. And then, elevating from the standpoint of just building up yourself, right? Like we're building a life around what we want to do, and then building with others. So it's collaborative in that nature. And that's what we're aiming to do, create a movement of heart-centered leaders, because we're all leaders in our own right. And that's going to propel us forward and into a world of love, and out of this one of fear.
Wow. Again, that's why I think that we connected so well when we met, is that because the idea behind heart centered, and it all starts with us, like having that love of ourselves, and being out there and being in the moment will impact others. Because probably like you, like every day, my goal is just to have an impact. And I don't know what that impact is going to be, but whether it's a smile or making eye contact with someone, or just at least saying hello. Because so many times I think we're walking by other people and forgetting that these are human beings. We can be so focused in, or so inward focused, as I say, worried about what's happening for us on a day-to-day basis, that there's a whole huge world, happening around us, and that there's other people that, are impacted sometimes in worse ways than we are. And so I just love with what you shared. So if people are looking to connect with you, and of course we'll put it into the chat, but what's the best way that people can, find you, follow you, connect with you, be inspired by you, share with everybody how to do that?
Sure. Well, we have a website that we started creating kind of when we first got on the road. That's bigadventureliving.com. So you can go check out more of our story, kind of see some of our travels. there. We have a community that we're building out that right now you can join the Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups and then join Fire Up Nation. And then we are in the process of building on our Fire Up Nation website. So those are kind of three prongs of how to get in touch with us now. And we're also in the midst of building out a course to kind of, share people with a journey of, you have this like desire, you know that you could, make a big change in your life. You're just kind of hesitating and waiting. So if you are looking at how to take the steps to get, through that and start taking action, we're going to put out of course. So if you're interested in that, join the Facebook group or send us a message via the contact us on Big Adventure Living, and we'll give you the information so you can join us.
That's awesome. Let me just ask you this, because it's coming to me, is that how different do you think life would look or be if you had stayed in corporate America?
Very different. And it's an interesting question. I love it because, at first when everything felt like it was going against us finally living out our dream, it was very frustrating. It felt just like everything was just closing in on us. And then coming out the other side, we just, like I said, say yes. We just, we're just going to make the most of it, because what else can you do? Like, we couldn't change the circumstances of the world, but we can change how we're dealing with it. And now looking back, our world would have been totally different and not even as good of a way. Like, sure, it would have been great to go to all these beautiful places stress-free, but like, what, we wouldn't have gotten here. We wouldn't have dug deep and done the inner work to allow us to, have the space to just think about things in a different way. And so being in corporate America, it works for many people, but where our hearts were and where our passion was not the space in which we were going to be able to live that out. So, I'm thankful that we cleared the space, and then we didn't know what that was going to entail, what that was going to develop into. But just by saying no to what wasn't working for us and saying yes to what was in our hearts, that just has continued to open doors that I don't know we would have been able to see the doors if we were still in corporate America. So yeah, it would have been very, very different, and just not, I think, what works for us, and that's great. So you got to, do what works for you.
The only thing I would add to that is just, I know if I had stayed, I was still there, I just felt more and more diminished. Just less and less of an authentic human being. And I would have had, more stress, a little more money, sure, but I would be, kind of serving something else and not serving myself. And I think it's important that we all realize that, it's important to have self-care, and you bring your best self to the world, then great things happen to you and happen to the world. And so now, shifting from, this kind of paradigm of scarcity, oh, there's not enough for me, I gotta, try to, there's unlimited possibilities, and, you're a powerful creator with the power of the universe inside you. I really believe that. And I would have never really thought about that until I opened up, like Grayson said, the space to allow, kind of that expression to come through and to try new things and to be open to all of that. And in some more practical terms, what would we have missed out on? Camping under a waterfall in a cave in Costa Rica, getting lost in a national park in Croatia and having to hike 17 miles to get out of it in the dark. Just all kinds of cool, rich conversations with people from all over, and just now being so fulfilled and fired up with a vision and working toward that and really taking action on our lives now in the present moment. And man, am I so glad that we said yes.
Well, and I am so glad that you said yes as well, because this has been a fascinating conversation that we could spend so much time around, because you are living and, you're walking the walk and talking the talk. And, so anyone who's out there listening, you're absolutely right. If corporate America or whatever you're doing is in your heart, that's fantastic. But if there's something burning, there's a burning desire, you have that passion, you have that different purpose, and you don't know just what direction to go, start tuning into that intuition and start listening and figuring out, even if it's just small steps, like how you can start to incorporate that too, as I always say, to live your best life now. So on that note, thank you again so much for the time that you took, to be with me here this morning. Again, we will make sure that we have all the contact information in there. You want to follow Fire Up Nation. That's just it. That's the bottom line. Besides following me, of course.
I was going to say, and you.
Julie Jones.
Yes.
Of course, because we both have that desire. And that's why, again, we've got that heartfelt, center, that heartfelt love to help human beings to be the best version of themselves. So this is Julie Jones signing off for this week with the Get Shit Done interview series. You too can be on the show. Just reach out to me and we will get you scheduled. And on that note, have an inspiring, fired up, get shit kind of week. We'll talk to you soon.
Woo! Thank you, Julie.
You